After being a passing team the last couple of years, the Gators will revert back to that run game just a little bit. We'll hear from John Hevesy, Richard Gouraige, and Ethan White right here on Gators Breakdown.
Want more Gators Breakdown? Join Gators Breakdown Plus. Starting at $3 a month, get access to unique episodes, plus a blog, chat room, giveaways, shout-outs, and more. Gators Breakdown Plus is furthering the interaction with fans and listeners like you. Head to gatorsbreakdown.supportingcast.fm to join Gators Breakdown Plus today. Gators Breakdown, because there's never a dull moment in Gator Nation.
The Gators Breakdown podcast is ready to go. I'm your host, David Waters, and you can find me on Twitter at GatorDave_SEC. Offensive line will be the focus of this episode after we got to hear from John Hevesy, the offensive line coach, Richard Gouraige, tackle, and then guard, Ethan White. All spoke to the media late last week, so getting this episode out here as we get to hear from a group of those guys up front for the first time this fall. Gators will be heading into their last scrimmage this week, getting ready for the first opponent of the season, FAU. So fall camp winding down, and about a couple more, couple more full weeks before we get to the first game of the season. So lots to discuss here as fall camp dwindles down. Thankfully, that means we're getting closer to the season. We're all ready for that first game. I think college football coming up this weekend for the first a little few games out there, but won't be starting in earnest till Labor Day weekend, and the Gators take on FAU. So, all right, a lot of good stuff here from John Hevesy, Richard Gouraige, Ethan White, and you're trying to get that confidence back up front. That's the biggest thing. Look, we talked about that on the defensive side of the ball after what Dave went through last year. Whereas for the offensive line, it's been a couple seasons where we've been able to, have some confidence there and being able to just, we know the focus on the offense this year. It will look more of a running attack, not the passing attack we've seen the last couple of years, especially last year, 2020, and that high-flying lethal attack there. Florida's got to be able to run the ball better, even if it was the same offense as 2020. Still got to find a way to run the ball better, but now with a shift in offense to a more dual-threat mobile quarterback with Emory Jones and Anthony Richardson, and now the deep stable of backs that Florida has, it starts up front, and those guys got to get their confidence there. So we know that's where we'll start. We'll start with John Hevesy and what it takes, how long it takes to process of being able to play offensive line for him, for the Gators, feel comfortable and feel confident in playing in this Gator offensive line.
Redshirt freshman, you come in and not that you're expected to play, but you should be able to play if need be in that position, so you've learned it. And then really to me in your third year is when you're expected to be a starter. You're supposed to be fighting for a starting job. Just at that time your physical body's ready, your mental body's ready. And to me, that's once you do that, that's where you've come along to. So at that point, you really look at, in a 5-year window, you get them as a 3-year starter. And they're playing with confidence. I think that's the biggest thing is you can throw guys in there and without confidence, and you can look and say, he's supposed to do this. Well, he's not confident in what he's doing. I mean, it really helps the whole group. And when you got, that the 5-6 guys playing with confidence really should helps those young guys behind them. And I tell the guys behind them is watch them because they're playing a confident group. They're communicating. They're doing all the things you're supposed to do to get better.
There, it sounds like that first group's got the confidence. That's why they're being a part of the reason why they're out there. They've played some ball games out there. When you go Gouraige, White, Reese and Delance, Braun to a point as well. Those guys have played in some ball games there, so there's some confidence there in those guys. Being able to be in that starting 5 rotation, be up there in that first group of 6, 7, 8 players there along that offensive line. It's going to the confidence. Look, it sounds good on the surface right now, and I think what Hevesy means, at least the confidence is there and just the game experience they've been able to bring to the table. You're not coming on here, and the way he started this soundbite was, he's redshirt freshman. He's not expecting freshmen to come in here and play. And Marquise Pouncey was the last one that he's been involved with to be able to come in here and make an impact. And he said then it was late into that freshman year before he even made an impact. So much like a lot of this staff, much like the head coach Dan Mullen, not forcing guys out there before they're ready, and you got to show some confidence out there, and confidence for this coaching staff, this offensive line coach and John Hevesy doesn't come until there's some experience to bring along to the table. He says redshirt freshman, and look, we're not really counting on you much till your third season anyway in a 5-year window. So no surprise, guys, this is a developmental position for John Hevesy, not throwing guys out there. Part of it is, I think, recruiting. If you're recruiting 5-star offensive linemen, you can throw them out there a little quicker. But if you're not recruiting, look, and we know that's not the style here. We know that. We can hound it. We can pound it all we want. Don't get me wrong. They chase 5 stars, high-level 4-star offensive tackles, offensive guards, centers, however you want to label offensive linemen. They don't get them all too often on a consistent basis. So the development timeline is kind of a necessity. They don't have a lot of high-level guys ready to come in and play. Don't get me wrong. There's not a lot of those guys out there anyway. Alabama doesn't have a whole lot of problem throwing true freshman offensive linemen in, and those guys being ready to play, ready to go as high-level recruits and able to play in SEC play and a college football playoff, SEC championship. We've seen that from Alabama. That's not the formula here. It is hey, we're probably not going to get you on the field till year 3 in a 5-year window. This is not even, hey, come play for 3 years here. Come be so good that you're gone in 3 years. It seems like the plan for offensive line is, hey, this is a 5-year window right here. You're going to develop until we don't really need you to start until that 3rd year. And that can rub some players the wrong way. That reputation, even coming out and saying it, it's out there on tape now. Offensive linemen can say, well, why am I going to go to Florida if I can't play right away? So you can see how that goes both ways here. But it can work as long as you got the factory going, the formula going, where you can fill in every 2-3 years and somebody new, and they sit there and play year 3, year 4, year 5. Would we like to have the higher level offensive linemen that are playing 3 years and it's freshman, sophomore, junior, and they're so good that they leave after their junior year? Absolutely, you take that. Not the style here, not the way John Hevesy and this coaching staff goes about things and trying to find confidence for the offensive line. They're not throwing them out there before they're ready. And, the comfortability is if they're not comfortable, they're not confident. And that's kind of where this goes there. So somebody who should be comfortable, somebody who's played a lot of football on this offensive line, but not so much at left tackle, been sprinkled in there. But Richard Gouraige going to be that left tackle this year for the Gators, taking over for Stone Forsyth last year. So we get to hear from John Hevesy, Richard Gouraige here about playing that left tackle spot, and Ethan White as well on Richard Gouraige.
Last year, he played a bunch of it in rotation just to get him, kind of to get him out there, but also in the preparation for this year coming up that he was going to be out there, that even though he's a returning starter, to go play that position for the first time coming out this year would have been harder on him. So as you saw towards the end of the season, just rotating him in there, getting him in there to play, I think it really helped him through spring practice and fall camp of being out there.
Everything's been going good. Just trying to get better every day with the teammates, still trying to build that good chemistry with everybody else. But the quarterback's been great, and the O-line been great, so it's been great so far. It's all about challenges and stuff like that, trying to increase my game, more flexible and stuff like that. The more I know, the better. So, I'd rather know all 5 positions if I can, because I know what certain guys have and certain protections and stuff like that. So, more you know is better.
Richard, he kind of takes pride in being able to do everything well. He can run block, obviously, because he played guard, so he's physical. But now that he's back out at tackle, I think he's really worked hard in pass protection and kind of just taking the next step.
Taking the next step, that's what we need to see from Richard Gouraige. Of course, he's played every position but center so far for the Gators in his career, and now he's there at left tackle. And think about it. We have not – the one credit we can give this staff, we haven't worried about left tackle at all since they've been here. Martez Ivey, year 1. Was there a little bit of a slow start on the offensive line, on the offense in general? Yes, but as the season went on, he was a force there at left tackle. Florida was pretty good running and passing blocking there in 2018. Then Stone Forsyth comes in. We didn't have to worry about that left side there for the offensive line. More so on pass blocking, of course. All across the board, run blocking could be better there, but didn't necessarily worry about what we were getting out of Stone Forsyth at that left tackle position. So, you got to feel pretty confident there. Richard Gouraige, probably more natural position anyway. Florida, he was one of the best offensive linemen on the field the last couple of years. That's why Florida was able just to look. Even if it's guard, we've got to put him out there. He's one of the best out there, and you weren't going to put him over there at Stone Forsyth, who was playing good at left tackle. So stick him at guard, and that's probably going to benefit. That's probably going to pay off now in this offensive line, as he's going to be playing beside Ethan White, who we are high on him, and we'll get into more of him in just a second as well. But now he has Gouraige, who has all this experience right beside him, and now Gouraige knows pretty much every assignment on that offensive line besides center. But he's played everywhere, so now he can help out some of the younger players on the line in the huddle as well, making sure everybody knows their assignments, making sure all the calls and all the checks. A lot of that comes from center too, but the communication there on that left side, you got to think it's going to be pretty good there with Gouraige and White, but mostly because of Gouraige and his experience that he's built up the last couple of years as well. Somebody who's been and he's played pretty well, even though the run game has struggled the last couple of years. I mean, overall, he's probably been an average offensive line. We're looking for that next step there, and maybe it's now because he's in his more natural position, I think, at that left tackle spot that we see that next step coming for Richard Gouraige. But, hopefully the jump comes in both forms, both sides, pass blocking and run blocking there from Richard Gouraige. But good to see him there at a position that I think suits him more so or whatever, but also good that he is a versatile player, has the experience, and can share that experience with some younger offensive linemen that will be playing beside him and all along and across the offensive line. So, look, no question about it. Florida, after 2020 and that lethal passing attack, now more of a run approach. And look, Florida's going to be looking to be strong in the middle up front. Guard, center, guard, left guard, center, right guard. Florida looks to be there, plenty of size there, but John Hevesy really likes what he has there. We'll get to hear from Ethan White a little bit too on this. So the guards in this year's offense, the rushing offense, and also hearing from Richard Gouraige and just the focus on running the ball this year.
The one thing in offensively we look for in running the ball and doing things is having big guards. Is having big guards that can knock back. Especially in this league of the 2 techniques and 3 techniques that are there, that you want big guys to set. To double team and set those double teams in the inside guys and be able to move those guys. So when you have the ability to do that, and again, like you look at the 3 guys that really that run around that, and 4 guys with Stewart, Josh, Ethan, and Will. I think the lightest is probably 330 and the heaviest is 355. So it's they're not small guys.
Being big is nice and all, but it's still in the run game. A lot of it is chemistry and kind of staying on levels and having proper spacing in the run game. So being big obviously helps. Weight moves weight, but really I think the chemistry with the inside guys is good. The communication. Obviously this year, we were really focused on running the ball. Especially with the size, as you mentioned earlier. And the quarterbacks are just, they can take off any play, any point, they can just go. But we don't focus on specifically one thing. We want to be able to do whatever's called. So if we have to throw the ball a bunch of times, we want to be able to protect all day. But if it calls for running the ball, then we want to be able to do that as well.
Coach really installed in us that we need to run the ball more and stuff like that. And so every day of camp, we've been pounding that rock really. So we just really installed, because our whole offense changed since Amory and Anthony came and stuff like that, and we just had to step up as a unit and just be more dominant.
Be more dominant. And look, I like what Ethan White had to say. Of course, running the ball is going to be the focus, but it's not going to be the only focus. And maybe that's a far cry from what we saw the last couple of years. And as I said before, I think it really helps going back to this style of offense a little bit more. I think it's more what John Hevesy knows how to coach, knows what to develop for, and just knows the style of this offense just a bit more, and being able to cater it to his coaching style. Now, that's not a full excuse, and I wonder, getting a little bit away from the topic here, I wonder what that means for the future of the Florida offense. If, say, we go back to more of a drop back style quarterback, what does that mean for the offensive line? Does that mean the offensive lines can only pass block again and not run block in that scenario? So we'll see. I think bringing it back just a little bit, there's a mental aspect to this. And I think it does help him. I think it helps this offensive line and this mentality of moving forward maybe 40 times a game instead of dropping back and trying to pass block. Now, don't get me wrong, they were good at pass blocking, but I think that it affected their mentality in the run game. So now maybe 40 run plays being called a game, and you're moving forward 40 times a game instead of backpedaling 40 times a game. Maybe mentally, that's part of where this this running attack gets it going, but mostly because of what they bring up the size. Florida's so strong up the middle size-wise. When you go White, Awakens, and Reese, and we heard from Stuart Reese earlier this fall camp of the struggles he had in adjusting last year and coming in from COVID and being injured and trying to learn everything all over again with this staff. It was a little difficult, and now you got some experience there. Ethan White came about after he got injured last year, and we'll get into that too, but he got some experience there at left guard. Awakens, that's the biggest question there at center now. It seems like he's got that center role locked up, and we'll get into that too before we sign off here. But pretty strong up the middle, I think the Gators are. And now Josh Braun there going to be there at both guard spots. So Florida's got some size there. They got to develop that and get the chemistry, get the connection going there. But I like what they said. We have to be able to do. We have to be well-rounded. We have to be able to do both. We have to be able to run block and pass block. Can't be like the last couple of years where it excels in one part of the game. And I do expect the jump there just because of mentality. The coaching development there knows this style of offense better. It suits him. It's what he's done for forever, John Hevesy has. And just based on that alone, I expect an improvement. Now, what's the ceiling? I still have questions there. I don't know what the ceiling is, but I do expect improvement, at least on the run blocking side of things. Quarterbacks help them as well. The running back stable helps as well there. So I think you're going to see a lot of between the center and guard and running behind these guards a whole lot for this run game. I think that you're going to see that a good bit with this size. They recruited to this size on purpose, to be able to build this style of offense, to be able to run behind that size there up the middle. And I think you're going to see him take advantage of it. And that's where you're going to see a lot of just concentration on the run game is right up the middle for this Gator offensive line. All right, one player I know everybody wants to hear more about just because of the story it was of coming in and doing the work it took to get on the field, lose some weight, and that's the one Ethan White. And the story of him, it was based on a project coming out, just because of the size issue there. But credit to him, credit to Nick Savage for getting it all together. But we'll hear from John Hevesy and Ethan White here on his progress, and also from Richard Gouraige in working beside White now that on that left side of the offensive line.
His confidence was skyrocketing last year at center until that injury. And again, any injury always kind of puts a kid of questioning what he's doing. And even last season, he was probably ready for the Georgia week, but you watch him at practice, not 100% confident. Ready but not confident, which is something you don't want to ever throw a kid in there when he's not confident in what he's doing, and you wait one more week to get him in there so he's playing. I think since then, you even watched through spring practice, I think still a little bit, and now through camp really just hasn't bother with thinking about those things. He's playing with a lot of confidence.
I'm still not trying to be too locked in at one spot. I like to have position flexibility. So does Coach Hevesy. So I'm not playing just one spot in particular, but I have been focused mostly on left guard. They didn't necessarily say I'd be better at guard. I just think that Kingsley's a great option at center. So they obviously want to play the best five, and if that is Kingsley at center, then I'm good with that. With the physical transformation, as you guys like to say, it's just doing what Coach Savage and his staff says. If they say, go do this workout, eat this way, drink a certain way, I'm going to do it because they know best. And I came here to kind of be coached and learn from those guys. So it's kind of just following the program that they set. It's been good. Me and Richard have kind of been working together since I got here as a freshman. We've just been on the left side over the years, so we have a pretty good chemistry with things like making calls and just being on the same page with each other. My confidence is high. Part of it is the guys I'm playing next to. having practiced with them for so long and knowing what they do, it allows me to play with confidence because, for example, I know where my help is with Richard or Kingsley, and I can kind of play faster just because I'm not worried about what's going to happen around me.
Ethan been phenomenal. He's been working really, really hard. I mean, he's been great. He's really funny off the field and stuff like that. So it's really great to have a friend next to you, go in and play really. So I mean, that chemistry is growing every day really. When I'm tired of doing extra kits and stuff like that, and Ethan know I stay after practice every day and trying to work on the little things to increase my game, and I somewhat try to help Ethan the best way I can, and so we just both click really.
There we go. Clicking, helping each other. I think that's where, look, the theme of this episode right now, confidence on this offensive line. And, these guys have been around together a whole lot, maybe not playing together in starting roles, with Brett Hagee now gone, Stone Forsythe now gone. That was the majority of the left side of the line we've seen the last couple years, but now you have it with Gouraige and you have it with White, and you look at White's bouncing back from, we thought he'd be the center last year. He got injured in preseason fall camp, and it took about until the Georgia game for him to feel confident. The week after that, got some playing time. I believe in the Georgia game, that's when he came back, but it wasn't until the week after that to where he was fully inserted and into getting more playing time there with the offensive line. So now being able to bounce back, and I like what he said. Look, it doesn't matter if I'm playing center or not. They're going to find the place for me there at guard to get the best five on the field. And from all reports, that it sounds like Awakens is going to get that center job and be one of the best five on the field. And he looks for White to have some. He has played center a little bit this fall camp as well, working out there, especially toward more the beginning. But now I think as the closer we get toward the season and Florida's finding the five that they want to start, you're starting to see the settle, those guys settle into their roles. Gouraige at left tackle, White at left guard there. And these guys seem to have a connection there, and it's helping with the confidence right there. So, it's all about getting the best five on the field. We've heard about that, building some depth, but Ethan White, there's probably two players on this Florida roster we've had that feel-good story for, Ethan White and DeJuan Black, one on each side of the ball. Those are stories that we are just going to be watching out for the next couple of years here for the Gators and seeing how it turns out. And look, we all know, we all feel White has that potential. He impressed early on as a freshman in trying to lose that weight, get on the field, and impressed in the limited time we saw him. We were all expected that big jump last year before he went down with injury. Now I think we hope we see that jump we expected last year, and even he's still working on his physique and conditioning, being able to be out there. Like everything we heard about Desmond Watson recently about having to shed the bad weight, can't really play that many plays in a row, was basically the same thing we were hearing about Ethan White as he would come along. But now getting that physique in order, that physical transformation he talked about, and that's going to just help him stay on the field out there and doing the right thing. I mean, he's got some muscle now. It wasn't that when he come in. So a credit to Nick Savage, credit to him for putting the work in. We can give all the credit to Nick Savage too. He deserves a whole lot of it, but it's up to the player to go out there and do those things that are that need to be done. Nick Savage can give him all the tools in the world, but you got to be able to use those tools. And that's what Ethan White has done. So excited to see what he brings to this offensive line there. Not a highly heralded recruit, but it looks to be a cog on this offensive front, this offensive line. And hopefully we see him healthy, injury-free this year, and we see those steps that we wanted to see in 2020. All right, last one here. Kingsley Awakens been a hot topic all fall and winning that center position more than likely. Either him or Stuart Reeves, but it looks like right now to get the best five on the field, it's going to be Awakens. So here's John Hevesy and Ethan White on Awakens.
His growth, his maturity has been the biggest thing for him. I think early on you saw, his freshman year you saw had the talent, had the athletic ability, had all those things. I think just the maturity and to play that position, and to be control of everybody. I think like as young guys, they're always trying to just work for themselves. And even, last year you saw him, I'd probably say midway through the season you started seeing it. And then I think really during spring practice, had a great spring practice, and you saw the leadership role of Now at that position, being a center, commanding both sides, the left side, the right side, and putting everything together, you really saw the maturity of him come out. And I think during summer, he even did it, watched him leadership, and he did in the weight room, on the field, with all the drills that they do. And you've seen it so far in camp. I think that he's got to continue in that path. He's still got maturity to go, but I think he's made a great jump in just his maturity on the field, on top of fundamentals and doing things as a unit more than as an individual.
Kingsley, he's just freaky athletic, and he's strong. Like, he's probably one of the strongest guys on the team, if not the strongest. So he physically, he has all the tools, and then mentally he's very good with calls and getting everybody on the same page, and he's a good leader at that position.
That's what I want to hear. Good leader at the position and got to get the calls. That's what the center's going to be out there mostly for. Of course, the physical play comes into it as well. But, seems like all the reviews from the coaching staff and from players too, Awakens head on that right track to get that center position going and be one of the 5 best on the field. So what does that mean? Awaken, we've talked about this offensive line. We've wondered what would happen there. And I know a lot of people have the questions there at right tackle and what happens with Gene DeLance and everything that goes along with that. And when Awaken probably getting that center spot now, it's going to shift the offensive line and our way of thinking just a little bit. I know a lot of people are going to have a hard time piecing together what Awaken means and him winning that center job means and what it means, the trickle-down effect for the offensive line. Well, right now, I think if Florida was to play a game, the scrimmage on Sunday, that starting offensive line, if they were playing the game right now, projected for me, left to right, Richard Gouraige, no surprise. Ethan White, no surprise. Kingsley Awakens, they're at center. What does that mean? Stuart Reese not at center. Stuart Reese at right guard, and still Gene DeLance at right tackle. And part of that also comes from Awakens winning the center job. Now, the trickle-down effect, what does that mean for Josh Braun? John Hevesy did say he is cross-training at both guard positions. So that's why he's not taking Gene DeLance's job at right tackle. I think Braun can be a tackle. I think maybe eventually next year he will be. But now, for this year, I think for one more piece of this, look, I think if Florida was the same 2020 offense, I think we might see Braun there at right tackle. But with this shift in a run-focused offense, I think that what they want Josh Braun more in the middle, because that's where they're going to concentrate a lot of this run game. And Gene DeLance is a much better run blocker than he is a pass blocker. So you still get him out there. He's not as big as a detriment to this offensive line as he was when they were dropping back 40 times a game. Moving forward 40 times a game, Gene DeLance is a serviceable offensive lineman. So now they want Braun there to be able to fill in there at the guard positions and help right there inside. So he'll be that 6th guy. He'll still get a lot of snaps. He'll still play a whole lot. Give some guys some breathers there. But I do think, Josh Braun will be, not starting at that right tackle spot. And if you listen to John Hevesy, he's going to be that 6th guy filling in at one of the guard spots. So that was a signal there. That's what he said. Main backup there. You also have William Harrod, Michael Tarquin as next 2 guys that Hevesy needs to see step up, wants to see step up. Florida needs to build some depth there. He thinks they have 8 guys they want, and if you can get to 9 or 10, great. But right now at 8, Hevesy said 9, 10, 11, they're battling for who those guys are. But getting better every day ultimately comes down to game experience. That's what he's looking for now, I think, to separate these guys. So I think they know the 9, 10, and 11 guys, but who out of that group is going to play the most? And they probably won't know until Florida plays at FAU, USF, start getting some more game reps there, see who's ready but before Alabama. And that's who your 9, 10, and 11 guys are. How does that shuffle out? I think we have to wait past those first couple games to see. And that's what, he kept hounding that, John Hevesy did. Comes down to game experience, confidence. So get those young guys ready. He singled out Mincy, Leonard, Kingsley, getting those guys ready for game day, getting them live reps with a full crowd. That's where the next stage of separation comes from for this offensive line, where the confidence comes from in this offensive line. Hevesy was asked about the run game as well to kind of finish it up here. I think still add a little bit more quarterback run this year, of course. Won't be a surprise there. But he says the scheme isn't all that different from what they've done in previous years, just more quarterback running. And, you get that gist there. You'll see what the quarterback can handle in the passing attack, but, it's going to be mostly the same plays, but what can they handle from those same plays? And that's been my biggest question. What can bleed over from the pass-happy attack of 2020 to future offenses under Dan Mullen? It's all going to be dependent on what the quarterback can do with his arm. So Hevesy did say if they can't throw the ball, if they can't run the ball, they won't force it. I think that's what we saw last year. Especially also you had so much talent in the passing attack that you passed the ball. But we do know they should have been able to run better in situations last year, closing out games last year, short yardage situations last year. Got to get better. That's where you got to start this year. Get better in those situations, salting games away there. But I think with the mobile quarterback, the bevy of running backs they have, that helps in that regard as well. But they'll do whatever they're good at, is what John Hevesy says. And he's talked about running the ball well when they were at Mississippi State and his first year at Florida because they had to. So will they have to this year? I think that's still the biggest question there for this Gator team. How much can they rely on the passing game? How much can they take away from the previous iterations of the offense the last couple of years and apply all that? The Dan Mullen 2.0. What can they apply from that to the traditional Dan Mullen offense that we knew about so much from before with a dual threat quarterback? What all can you bring together in those styles of offenses to now move the offense into another iteration with Emory Jones, Anthony Richardson, and on down the road with a Kitno or Del Rio or Nevers? We'll see where it all goes from here. So, all right, offensive line talk right here on Gators Breakdown. Teased it last week, but he wasn't able to make it there at the end. So coming up this week, Ben Troop, hopefully we've got it scheduled again. We'll be here on Gators Breakdown this week talking about his new book. So we'll get all the details for that. Gators will have their second and final scrimmage of fall camp. So we'll get into that this week as well. That it will be Sunday evening. So look for an episode probably Monday afternoon there for some scrimmage news and notes coming out of there. We'll get to hear from Dan Mullen again on Monday. So be on the lookout for that after we'll get the news and notes, and we'll also hear from Dan Mullen and get his feedback as well from the Gators' second and final scrimmage of the 2021 fall camp. All right, that'll do it here for Gators Breakdown. I am your host, David Waters. You can find me on Twitter at GatorDave_SEC. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and ladies and gentlemen, I'll see you on the next episode of Gators Breakdown.